Hi, I'm Amy Saylor with the Connecticut Science Center. Every year, the Connecticut Science Center recognizes the achievements of STEM professionals throughout our state, especially those who share our mission and passion to inspire lifelong learning through interactive and innovative experiences that explore our changing world through science. Today, I'll be joined by Dr. Jacquelynn Garofano. She's the 2020 Pettit Family Foundation Women in Science Leadership Award honoree. She's also the Margaret Ingalls Engineering Development Program Manager for Raytheon Technologies. Hi, Jackie. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Amy.
Well, let me start by congratulating you for being the recipient of the 2020 Pettit Family Foundation Women in Science Leadership Award.
Thank you so much. It's an incredible honor.
I have to say that we had a stellar group of nominees this year, and so it was really, really challenging to decide, to choose one, but all of the women who were nominated, including yourself, are really doing incredible and impactful things, and I'm just happy that we get the chance to hear from you personally today. So let's get started. I'm curious to know who and or what led you to pursue a career in STEM.
I feel like I've been a late bloomer, to be completely honest. I didn't really find my love of STEM until I was in high school. And so I really enjoyed physics. I just had the core curriculum coming up through public education in Connecticut. So STEM wasn't even a thing. There were no extracurricular programs. And so that's why I say I was a late bloomer. Mentorship has been such a strong foundational support for me. And I've been incredibly fortunate to have mentors who have encouraged me and supported me along my academic journey. And really that started in college. I had applied and was accepted into the Honors College at Southern Connecticut State University. And it's there that I met Professor Christine Broadbridge, and she was absolutely the catalyst that really just sparked that interest for me. She took me under her wing, she supported me, she guided me, and it's important because I'm a first-generation college student. No one in my family is engineering or scientifically inclined. So for me, having a really strong woman guide me through my collegiate career that took me into grad school, like that just really was the spark. And so that's why I'm so passionate in just giving that back.
Sure. So I'm curious, why physics? Of all the STEM disciplines you could have gone on to, what is it about physics that moves you?
I really was inspired by the cosmos, and I wanted to really just be an astronaut. Apollo 13 was one of my favorite movies growing up. And so I took physics and then I took astronomy, and that sort of sealed the deal.
Wow.
But when I went to Southern and Christine, I had learned that she had a research lab. It was all about material systems that were on the complete opposite size spectrum. So the cosmos are so vast and huge. And here she is introducing me to the micro and nano scale, which was incredible. So I did just a complete shift because of that opportunity and that, just like desire to just know the unknown, right? Whether it be so massive or so small. So it's, physics, whenever I tell people that I have a bachelor's degree in physics, they just look at me like I'm an alien, but woman in tech and in STEM, you could get to shock people. It's the shock factor because there's not too many of us.
Sure. Well, on that note, I mean, it's one of the reasons why obviously you and the other nominees really stand out. The whole issue of there being so few women in STEM fields. So when you find women who have the tenacity and the passion to continue going forward, that's something to celebrate always. A couple of things. So you mentioned, the importance of mentorship. And I'm wondering, one, is there a piece of advice that you received from Christine or other women in the field that you really, really hold on to? And if you could talk about, you've been identified as a STEMinist.
Mhm.
So if you could wrap that into how has your career experience really impacted how you approach engaging and encouraging and supporting both girls and women in STEM?
Right. Absolutely. So STEMinist is something that I deeply believe in because I feel as though we need representation for women and also people of color within technology, engineering, across the board. And so for me, I'm a fierce advocate in the present, increasing the presence of women and exposing girls to this world of just incredible things in STEM. So really, I use the quote "see her, be her" as a hashtag, but to me, it's incredibly. It just goes leaps and bounds beyond that. And so after I reflect on being in education, right, for my collegiate career for nearly a decade, getting a doctorate degree in material science and engineering from UConn, and also I'm approaching a decade in the workforce. We've made strides, certainly, and now in my role as being involved in talent acquisition and development, I get to see that we're doing the good work for fostering that pipeline of getting women and people of color into our companies, into that STEM workforce. But serving as being in that mid space for most of my career, you know, you look across and you're just like, this isn't right. And so in my professional self, I just burn so fiercely to be an advocate, to make sure that we as allies are bringing others into the fold, are calling out leadership when we know that something just isn't right. And I feel like in this current state that we're in right now of just the world in which we're living in, people are finding their voice. And so when I think back to that young girl that I was, you know, starting as a freshman in college, saying I want to study physics and not knowing the journey that it would take me, it took me a while to find my voice. And so I tell young girls and I tell the women and I tell my peers and even leaders across, you know, different walks of life, we have a voice and we need to use it. And we need to be able to lift others up and bring them into the fold as we potentially rise, or we're just in this work. You know, it's just, I live this, you know, I get so empowered and emboldened. I learned of that word emboldened once when I was, you know, tuning into a webinar, and I was like, that's perfect. I'm going to use that too.
Great. Well, thank you. Can you talk about some outside of your current role as the Margaret Ingalls Engineering Development Program Manager for United Technologies Corporation? Can you talk a little bit about your work outside, but related to that, and some of the ways that you reach young girls and women in their STEM pursuits?
Right. So I'm a member of the Society of Women Engineers, and we have
Sweesters. Woo, I love Sweesters. We love Sweesters.
Yes. We have a very strong chapter in the Hartford area with professionals across the Raytheon Technologies businesses. And we also have, you know, the statewide chapter as well. And so for me, being a part of those organizations as a professional is important, right? We have the ability to, you know, leverage the great work that our company does through community sponsored, you know, organizations and partnerships, particularly with STEM, particularly with the Connecticut Science Center as well. And in addition to like the engineering specific type of, you know, volunteerism that I do serve, it's also important for me to be a representative of a woman in STEM and working for a technology company in my community leadership. And so I've recently been invited to be on the board of the Girl Scouts of Connecticut. So I'm very excited because
Congratulations.
I made it past a daisy growing up. And so I feel like I'm becoming an honorary Girl Scout, but I also know that their mission is to really bring and empower girls into STEM. So for me, I get to be able to be, in that organization and do really good work over the next few years.
Sure. You're correct. The Girl Scouts of Connecticut does amazing work around girls in STEM. And just this past weekend, my friend and colleague Ellen Savard and I hosted a virtual First Lego League Junior Expo together. So it was a collaboration between the Girl Scouts and the Connecticut Science Center. And it was amazing to just see how excited these young girls were. And just really great to be able to give them the opportunity to engage with STEM at such a young age. So imagine where they'll be if they continue when when they reach high school and college. It's about giving them that confidence that you exhibit now, and giving them opportunities to practice. So Girl Scouts are wonderful. So tell me about what's a day in the life, um, in your role, in your work. What's that look like?
So gone are the days when I've been in the lab as a technical contributor. So when I began my career after UConn, I joined the United Technologies Research Center as a research scientist. And so for 7 years, I was contributing to developing, the amazing technologies of our businesses, as well as support failure investigations, technical support, constantly in the lab. I don't do any of that anymore. I honestly feel like I've closed that chapter in my life, in my professional life, because I was blessed enough to have the opportunity at Southern to do research as a freshman and work in partnership and collaboration with grad students at Yale University. So I was able to have these really amazing opportunities, and I feel like I've been doing research for about half my life. I've aspired to really be a leader, and for a long time I didn't know what that was. I still maybe don't. I don't know what the title that I'm aspiring to have. I just know the feeling that I want in my day-to-day. And honestly, I can't say enough that I love my job. I absolutely am just loving the fact that I get to live vicariously through these young, aspiring engineering leaders who are recently graduating their own from bachelor's degrees across various engineering disciplines. Top, students. I get to learn from them. I really feel that reverse mentorship, peer mentorship is something that's so valuable. And so I live vicariously through them. They're working on amazing technologies and products and just really giving themselves such exposure across our business of Raytheon Technologies. And I don't have to do any of that anymore. I feel like I'm on my way to really just being the leader that I want to be. And I have this incredible team of colleagues that are overseeing our leadership development programs for various different functions. So it's just, I jokingly say that I'm a PhD in HR, right? And I tell people what I do and they look at me and they're like, really? But I feel as though I'm walking in my purpose. When I had known about this job to become program manager of this new leadership development program at our company, I was like, I need to do this because I just feel like my whole collegiate career in focusing in educational outreach, in working with young students, in working with my peers and developing just that whole full circle mentorship. Absolutely. I've been living the dream for a year and a half that I've been in this role.
That's so exciting to hear. It's always wonderful and encouraging to hear, to listen to people who truly love what they do. So I'm sure for you, when you're walking in your purpose, it's not like work, right? It's what you're here to do, and what a wonderful example for other young women. I would be, stoked to have someone with your enthusiasm and
Thank you.
energy as a mentor. And when I think about the kinds of work that we do with the Connecticut Science Center, particularly under the Women in Science Leadership Initiative, which offers programs for both young girls as well as convening and building the community of women in STEM professionals like yourself, I really do hope that you will join us in our efforts going forward. I'd love for your voice to be heard and shared. I believe we could all benefit. Before we leave, is there any parting words of wisdom you'd like to share? You've shared a lot, and it's all really good stuff. Anything before we go?
So you can edit this out if you so choose, but I'd I'd encourage people that you need to be able to tell people who you are, because based on appearances, they might have, some judgment. And so I'm going to take this opportunity to self-promote at this time, if you would just indulge me.
Sure.
In 2011, I had the great honor of being recognized by Women of Innovation for collegiate leadership and innovation. And that was at the end of my doctoral work at UConn. And so it's, as a Connecticut native, it's been on my bucket list that in my professional career, I will also be named a finalist, for example, in large business, working at United Technologies and now Raytheon Technologies. And so I'm absolutely thrilled that in addition to the 50 plus women that have been recognized as Women of Innovation finalists, I finally get to check that box off my bucket list, because recognized as a finalist for that large business category. So for me, just absolutely thrilled. And I also will have the opportunity to participate in a brief interview as part of the Connecticut Manufacturers web series. And so I get a lot of video time in this world. So I'm thrilled about that. And also on top of this, so although 2020 seems to be just an incredibly crazy and strange and extraordinary year for many positives and negatives, I must say that I'm just really honored to be able to be amongst so many incredible women in our state at all levels, who are just really moving the needle, empowering women and girls, and pushing the boundaries of research and within our large and small business companies as well. So it's just, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Again, it's great to hear from you about what you're doing and why, and all the passion behind it. So again, congratulations on your win. And I look forward to hearing from you and or seeing you sooner than later. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much, Jackie.
Thank you, Amy.
Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.